Alright, back again, Luke here. And today what I thought we could do is a bit of an unboxing first and then a repair video. As you can see, I just got a package in here right now and I figured we could open it up and take a look at it. As you can probably see by the title here, this is a Konami board, and it was one that was listed in really rough condition. And I'm just curious as to how bad it really is. Crack this thing open here. Extremely well packaged, I must say. There's a ton of packaging on this thing. Probably gonna have to go through a few layers here. You can see how thick this is. But definitely protecting the board, and I'll give the seller that. It's excellent packaging. But like I'd mentioned, good old Konami here, and this board is in some serious need of restore. As you can see, this is a Konami G.I. Joe PCB. And probably right off the bat, you can't see too much as far as damage goes. It's probably going to be a little difficult to see in the light anyway. But over here, it looks like the sound section has been replaced or repaired, at least a little bit. I'm sure you guys can see there. But it does have a lot of scratches and pits on the top there. One of the first things you'll notice, though, is the DAC here, or the video section, is completely gone. So this will not show any video with this chip gone. I have ordered a replacement. I'm still waiting for it to come in here. But other than that, the top part of the board has several areas that have been scratched up. I need to go over these and take a look at it a little bit more carefully, but maybe we can put this down here. I can show you guys some of the scratches and stuff that are going on over it. This looks pretty rough over here, especially these RAM chips. You can see we've got bent pin over there in the back, which is touching. That's not good at all, usually, especially for these customs. We've got a broken pin up here on this custom. What else do we got? A lot of the mask ROMs have been replaced over in this area here. Oh, they just look really rusted. And with the windows exposed, oh well, that one, the windows shattered. Jeez, might have gotten myself into something a little tricky here. I didn't even notice this. The cap's ripped off on that, on the sound section there. Any other really rough parts? Yeah, a lot of pins are kind of bent over and touching. And over here, the mask ROMs for the game look really rough. Let's see the bottom of the board. Oh, I didn't even realize this, but this board over here, it's got a bend in it. It's been cracked on the side there. That's not good either. Let's see what the bottom looks like. Probably not so good too. Yeah, wow, oh my gosh. What is up with that? Just a mess. Whoa. All of these pins bent and mashed on top of each other. This is just unbelievable. Grabbed a hold of my camera here and spun it around, but yeah, this is not looking good at all. Almost every single pin is just mashed down and crushed. I don't know though, we're gonna see what we can do with it. Maybe we can get this thing back up and running. We're gonna have to wait and see. Got tons of scratch marks and everything going on here. We're probably gonna require a lot of different chips, especially since a lot of these ones, oh, there's the split mark down there on the side. Hopefully it didn't damage any of the copper on the inside, causing, you know, some of these things to make better connections, but whew, lots of stuff to go on here. But I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do. First things first, I'm going to try to bend all the pins out and make sure they're not touching. And then mark the ones that were touching. That way I can tell if I have to go back and check. Maybe some chips were not working or had been burnt out because the legs here had been pushed over. It's a huge gouge right through all of those traces there. This one might be just as bad, if not worse than the too crude board that I had. Yeah, that's pretty deep. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try and clean up the bottom of this board. I don't know about this sound chip. I think this may be a lost cause. We'll have to wait and see how it works, but looking at that, it's not really good at all. But I'm going to get on this, try and straighten these pins out, and I'll see you guys here in a little bit. As far as straightening pins out goes, the best thing to use, or the one thing that I can use, usually use, is either a flathead screwdriver, or you can use an X-Acto knife, a hobby knife here, to try to flip them up from their bent position and kind of put them back into place. Let's see, well, we've got so many over here that, yeah, this might be a good place to start. So just kind of fold them up here, bend them back. In some cases, if you really don't need to have them, the pins that long, you can go ahead and chop them or cut them down. That way you don't have to worry about them touching again in the future. But if you do by any chance want to keep them, you know, you can just bend them right back into position here. It's going to require a little bit of work. Some cases you might have to use a pair of pliers or so to kind of get them bent perfectly again. This is just one way to line them up, and you can go ahead with some needle nose pliers or so and try and bend them back into shape. I think that with this sound portion I might just cut the legs, as I really don't see them being necessary right now. I might actually wind up getting a replacement sound module. It really depends on how far this this game will go, if it'll even boot. Right now it's completely dead. There's no way that this will turn on at all. But this is one way, like I had mentioned, just to kind of bend them up here and then try and straighten them out with a pair of pliers. I'm going to go through here and try to snip and clip the pins that are too long and that are bending and touching, and maybe straighten out the other ones that probably aren't so bad, and then we'll come back and take a look at what's happened. So, and as you can see here, these are literally hundreds of these small legs that have fallen off and that I have had to cut off from this board here. Using a pair of my side cutters, I wound up cutting some of the ones that were too far gone and really bent and touching each other. So the other ones, just trying to bend them back into place, they fell off. So there's quite a ton of them up here and several on the floor. But nevertheless, if we go back to the board, you can see that all of these pins now are at least not making contact. I mean, I may have to go back over some of them and double check before I plug it in. You know, there's no way I'm going to plug this thing in now. There's just too many parts that I need to get and a lot of stuff that I need to patch up, especially this huge gouge over here, amongst other points that look like they're kind of not making contact. And once again, I may have to remove this sound module as well, because there's a good chance it's not working either. Some other things here that I noticed on the board, which some of the pins, when I had bent them up, I had noticed that there was a gouge or a cut underneath the trace. I don't know if I can find any really good examples here. But just by bending the leg up, I was able to see that there were some cut traces underneath it. And I'm probably not going to be able to see. There's a couple of them over here. But this board is really, it's seriously trashed. And I'm not really sure if we're going to be able to get it running, but I am going to try what I can to see about getting it going again. As you can see down here, these are some kind of look like surface scratches. One thing to take into consideration is that even though the trace may look bad, you really don't know unless you use a multimeter and try and check for continuity. These ones are definitely bad. There's no doubt about it. That is cut right through. But some of these other ones, like the surface mounted scratches here and here along different parts of the board, I have to go back and try and check each one and see if they are actually making continuity or not. And if they aren't, then I'll go ahead and patch them up. But you don't want to just go ahead and patch every single wire that you see, or every trace with a wire, because you'll just have a board covered with wires here. Oh yeah, here's another example of one that was kind of nicked by the bent over pin here. Well, what I'm going to do next is I think I'm going to try to focus a little bit on some of these ICs on the top here, the ones that have the broken legs or the legs that are touching, and just do a thorough inspection, see if I can find anything else. I'm going to definitely have to reburn these EEPROMs. I'm going to have to try and find maybe 1, 2, just in case 2 or 3 of these ones for that. And I suppose since I'm waiting for parts here, I'm waiting for a replacement part for this video IC. I think I'll just go ahead and remove those remnants of pins that are underneath there and put a socket in there so I can have something that will just kind of be able to fit and slide right in there. Wow, that's interesting. Is that a burnt resistor? Jeez, yeah, it looks like that has caught fire. It should look like that. That's really rough. So, no telling what's going to happen with this board. Actually, this Motorola 68000 CPU is probably gone, I'm guessing. I'll have to go ahead and pull it up again, but I don't know if I have another one as a replacement. I might have to pick one up. So for the video section pins here, we'll go ahead and remove some of these. I don't know if I'll be able to get a good view on this, but we're going to add some fresh solder here to the remaining pins on the bottom. And some of these may just actually pop right out with the solder on them. But we'll just try and get some fresh solder on the bottom here. A lot of these ones are just kind of bent up and solder's not really sticking very well. We just kind of go over it. We're gonna add just some heat to kind of loosen everything up. You can see that I'm actually dragging some of this solder here around just to loosen everything up. Everybody's got their own method for removing pins, I'm sure. And the process here is just to kind of go and remove the broken pins and then come back and clean up all of the remnants and the holes here with some flux and some new solder. And there's some more. So this process is probably not going to be so entertaining to watch. That one just fell back down again. That's okay there. And slowly but surely they will come out. I could probably even use my solder sucker on these right now, but sometimes using it can damage the holes here, even if there's a part of a leg that's remaining. So you really want to clean the holes out as much as you can before you start using the solder sucker. And more pins here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove all of these pins and use my solder sucker on it, and I'll show you guys what the cleaned up final results look like here. As you can see here, I've got my red marks, and these were showing me where pins were bent or broken from the board. There were so many actually that I couldn't see the first time just kind of spinning the board around, but I wound up repairing these different parts here, kind of bending the pins back into place. There were some over here and on these corners, trying to get these corners back into position. This one's just a little bit, maybe just a hair too close. We can bend it just a little bit back using my X-Acto knife here. See if I can do this through the camera. You really don't want to push too much or apply too much pressure, because you wind up breaking this from the board. But maybe that's, I don't know if that changed really much, too much. That changed it just a little bit. And go just flexing it just a little bit to try and get it a little bit straighter. But there were so many different parts of, or different kind of globs of solder on the top here. Some were just kind of laying across these different points. I don't know. Really don't know, guys. That bent part there doesn't really look good at all. Actually, it's broken. You can see the crack in the top there. So I'm gonna see about those two vias. Maybe I can patch a couple wires going from here to here. The thing about Konami boards is the traces are just so thin and so fragile. Like if you scratch it, if they get damaged by corrosion, they are really hard to fix or get back into, you know, working order. So all right, well, I'm gonna maybe use some pliers on this, just try and slightly bend it back just a little bit and check the continuity. I know it's bad. You can definitely see that there's a physical crack through that, which is going to mean that this is all snapped here, and it even goes up underneath this RAM chip. So all right, well, that's next. Fun times. So removing some of that solder mask, you can see the line that's kind of cut through here. It takes a little bit of an angle to see it clearly, but I think I might be able to get away with just adding some solder to the top of that and maybe patching them that way. I know that a couple of them look kind of rough, but let's see if I can do that. I know that the middle section here doesn't seem to be as bad now that I've been kind of going over it a bit with the sandpaper. So I don't know. I'm going to try and see if I can tin these up just using some flux and then go over it with some solder and see if that will make a good connection, because right now a few of these don't, especially this one here on the end, doesn't make a good connection. So I'll go ahead and try and flatten that out, and we'll see how that works. Let's put some flux down here. Kind of coat this a little bit. Grab our solder. I'm just going to kind of like rub it along here. You don't want to leave this on too long, because with these copper traces exposed too much heat and you'll just lift the traces right off the board, and everything will be just destroyed here. So just a little bit. That should be enough there. And you can probably see a bit of a difference if this thing will focus in here. If we zoom out a little bit, maybe that'll be better. You can see that there's still a line in there, but maybe those are making a better connection than they were before. There's one way we can really tell, and that is if we use our continuity meter. Let's see if we can do this left-handed here. Or maybe I should try it with the right hand. Might be a little bit easier. Know if we'll be able to get a good reading off of this, but let's see. Got our top part here, the other one. Yep, well, it made a, that's making a contact there. I don't know about each one of these ones, but yeah, it's doing pretty good. I think we might have to, yeah, looks pretty good so far. It seems like this is working out. Yeah, even the end there, that's good. So these may be okay here. These traces may be fine, which means that some of the other ones that looked a little bit iffy may also be okay. I might be able to straighten them out. There's a couple of gouges right down here. We'll go ahead and check for continuity on those, but that's great. That really helps out a lot. It means I don't have to add too many patch wires. But around this section here where all of the points and all of the pins were touching, I'm really just worried what kind of damage it's done to the top ICs. And if it has destroyed any of those customs, it's going to be really tricky to try and put these things, or put this thing back together again. But we'll go ahead and maybe go around the rest of these things. I don't know if there's any other areas. This one looks a little bit, let's see, can we get a reading on it? This one seems to be connected. Oh no, that's, oh, it's making a contact. It's a little bit tricky here, but yeah, that's working. All right, well, a little bit more hopeful here. I think we're definitely going to have to brace this up. As you guys can see, it's just rising through there. Solder's completely cracked away from, or the heat sink's cracked away from the solder, so We'll have to secure that down there a little bit. I don't want that floating around too much, but the amp on this might actually be gone too, so that may be, well, we might have to replace that as well. Good times. Woohoo! Here I've replaced these two capacitors, and when I was going around the board, I didn't realize it at the beginning, but there was a cap that was missing off of the sound section. So I wound up looking online and finding the exact value of this. It was a 10 microfarad 16 volt cap, so I wound up replacing that. These caps here look like they had been replaced at one point in time. A lot of this eaten around areas from electrolytic fluid usually comes from leaking old caps, but these ones don't look too bad. So maybe they were replaced at one point in time, but they are still dinged and cut on the top. I'm not sure if I'll have to go back over it again. I'm not even sure if this module is still good because we saw the pins before, and if it was tested like that, there's a possibility that the voltage went everywhere. It could have fried something, so we don't know. Other things, I've replaced these 3 EEPROMs here, and I'm not sure if these are going to be the exact ones for this board or not. I tried to find the closest match. I think I used the World ROMs for it, but there was also a JAA Japanese set too, so we'll have to wait and see on that. The other thing here is looking at these resistors up front. These are all 1.8 k ohm resistors, and I did some checking on these things just to see if they were still good, especially this one here that looked a little toasty, and it does seem to be putting out pretty close to 1.8. So I mean, actually, maybe I can let me turn on my meter here, and let's see if we can do this. Maybe I can show you guys what it's reading. I have to try some funky chopstick skills here. Might be a little bit different, but let's see if we can get a reading off of this first one. So the first one is, let's see, is it not making a good connection here? Can't seem to be getting a good reading off of this one. There we go. Okay, so 1.794, pretty close. Let's try the middle toasty one here. That was our really bad one. And we're getting 1.780, 1.7980, yeah, which is pretty close as well. And the last one on the end here, I don't think this one had any trouble. So 1.788. So like they're all somewhat close to 1.8 ohm resistor, so or 1.8 k ohm resistor. So I'm gonna try it and see what happens with those in there. One more thing I'm gonna do is try and go around the board, check for any other touching pins, and make sure that I have everything kind of ready to go. I haven't replaced any of the RAM on this board, haven't touched anything else except for the EEPROMs and that capacitor over there, these two caps up front. So, only a matter of moments after I had mentioned my parts coming in here, we have a package here. Dun-dun-dun. Well, you can kind of see it. And we're going to go ahead and give this a shot. Cut this thing open here. And this should be the part that we were looking for. Talk about good timing. Woohoo! So, here's the packaging for it. This is going to be a little tricky to open, so try and go around the outside. Excellent packaging. This is a reproduction part here made by Caius. For those of you who know him, he's a repro expert on a lot of these arcade modules. And dun-dun-dun, here we go. Once again, more plastic so you guys can see here. Here is our reproduction module. And it looks like I'm going to have to get a socket. I'm going to have to make a socket here, some pins to put this in place. But this guy is ready to go. You can see here. Oh, maybe it is. It's already in a socket. Excellent. So I can just pull this out and solder this in and get this going. You can see Caius over here. He's the guy I get all of my repro parts from, and they always work like a charm. You'll notice here this is the positioning dot for it. You want to make sure that you have this position where the silk screen is on the board. So this will go with pin 1 here and slide into place. Look at that, almost like butter. There we go. That looks so nice. So we'll go ahead, I'll probably angle this just a little bit, maybe the pins on the back, because I don't want it to kind of come forward or get knocked off this way. Maybe add some hot glue to it as well. But that's our next step. We're going to go and try and solder this in place. So let's get to soldering this. Shouldn't take very long at all. Through the camera, should take only a couple of moments, and we'll get this guy done up, ready to go. I know a lot of people want to see the actual repair process here, so I'm trying to do my best. It's very tricky to do, honestly speaking, through the camera and around the camera and whatnot, even from the overhead view ones. A lot of people can do it quite well, which I totally respect here. But trying to do it from the side can be a little tricky. Back over these just a little bit, one more time here. But that should be it. We should be ready to rock. And bam, so there is our newly soldered piece. Obviously, you know, you have to go over it with some isopropyl alcohol. But those pins are all ready and shiny and looking good. Just really hoping for the best with this board. And what I've done is, like I mentioned, I kind of angled it just a little bit back here. So, and I'll probably put a couple dabs of hot glue on there just to keep it in place. Hoping for the best here, but we're gonna find out together. Let's see if it does anything. Turns on, smokes, whatnot. Moment of truth here. Wow, what in the world is that? Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything quite like that before, ever. That's quite interesting. That's what it's doing. Really, really strange here. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach this one, to be honest. This is a bit tricky. I mean, I've seen the boards kind of turn on before, but at least they'll give you some kind of idea. This is not really giving very much at all. And I know this thing is all situated in there. That should be okay. Alright guys, well, this is where we're at. This flashing mess. Actually, it's only going to do it once? Wow. Okay, now we've got nothing. Okay. Well, it did something for a while. Now it's not doing anything at all. So I'm not sure what's going on. Something is probably just kind of lost its lost its ability to move. Some of these are getting kind of hot, but I think that's natural for these ones to get warm. Not sure. This is probably going to be a bit of a longer repair, I'm guessing, to be honest. Nope, nothing there. So, alright guys, well, I'm going to get on this and try and see what else I can do, but so far, no luck. Okay, so going over the back of this part where I replaced these two wires here, you can see it's actually coming up, and it's kind of working. There was a RAM-ROM check just a second ago there. But I think this area is, there we go. Well, no, it's, geez, that's flashing this whole back section that was cracked. Now if I hold it here, I'm kind of getting 7D. EEPROM 7D is bad. But, yeah, it's just flashing like crazy there. That cracked section is really not stable. But at least it's getting something. At least it's going through a RAM check. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is try and see if I can stabilize this back here. I thought these wires were in the best that I could, but maybe there are other cracked traces along the way. I might have to put in a couple more wires. But this is good. At least it's showing that up until now is okay. So EEPROM 7D, which is 7C, 6C. Which one is 7D? I'm going to have to go through this and try and check, because there we go. It's saying this is actually bad. Yeah, it's not one that I really wanted to have go bad on me. But okay, maybe it's connected to another one of these RAM chips, and maybe it could be just broken traces. I've removed this RAM chip here, and I was curious if this crack had gone all the way under these traces, which it looks like it has. You can kind of see how it's discolored here on the ends, but after testing the continuity of especially this trace here, and this is our plus 5 volts, those are both okay. The only one that could be suspect is this third one, but they all seem to be okay. It might have been just a matter of, I don't know, this cracking away like cold solder joints, cracking away from the board. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a socket in there, and then we'll put the RAM back in, because fortunately the RAM didn't seem to have a big problem. It was actually reading it. It's only when I flexed the board was when it started having issues. So I'm going to try and put that in there, double check all of these traces again just to make sure they're making continuity, and then we'll kind of see what happens after that. So as you can see here, I've put the socket in and I've put that old RAM back in, and I've also gone over these two quad flat packs. The legs on these didn't look the greatest. I did wind up putting down the legs on these parts here where I have the red paint, but I decided to go over all of them just in case. So let's go ahead and give this another shot and see what happens. Maybe hoping for the best. Come on. Oh, okay, that's much better. Okay, but 7D still coming up bad. Let's see, but is it consistent? Let's see, if I turn it off, let's see if I move the board a little bit. Well, that's good. Well, it seems like that has fixed the issue with the side there, not wanting to kind of consistently come on. I'm wondering though, if you look up there, the version says ABA. So maybe 7D, maybe these are the wrong ROMs for this. So maybe what I'll do next is I'll go ahead and try to burn up a different set. Maybe I'll go with maybe the Japanese set, see if that works. I don't know. So I'm going to go and try and burn another set of EEPROMs here and see if that changes this at all. I did notice that on the back when we were doing all of the, fixing all of the broken legs at the bottom, that this 27, or what is it, 74LS 273 was one that had a lot of pins that were kind of bent, but I don't think they were touching. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's first try and replace these EEPROMs and see if that changes anything. I've burned a new set of EEPROMs here for the whole set. This is the Japanese set. Probably didn't have to burn one for the sound section, but just in case I decided to burn another one here. So let's pop this on and check some of that. Let's see if we get anything different. BA. Yep, and 7D is still bad. Geez, what version has ABA? Alright, well, I'm gonna go ahead and try again. I've socketed these two ICs. I actually removed the old 74LS 273 and put in a new one, thinking maybe that might have some effect on this EEPROM here, but it didn't. And doing some research online, I found that this particular EEPROM down here, the ER5911, has a tendency to fail. And I mean, honestly, thinking about all the other components on here that were bent and touching and the overall condition of the board, I'm really surprised that this is the only one that's coming up with that error. So what I did is I went online and I ordered a couple of them. It's probably going to take a couple of weeks at least for them to come in, but hopefully they will do the job. What we're going to have to do is kind of put this aside for right now and hope for the best when it comes in. I also, tried to push down on the test button, hold it in, and turn on the power. Very similar to other Konami boards, like the 22D usually comes up bad on some of the GX hardware, but just by holding that down, it'll do a EEPROM initialize and it'll work. But even by holding this down, maybe I can even show you here. Tricky. See if I can hold this down and turn this on at the same time. So this is being held down right now, but it's not doing anything. It's not even phasing this. But luckily it does stay consistent. It's trying to read. Trying to come up here, but yeah, even holding this down while booting does nothing. I'm just really curious about that ABA version. I don't think I've ever seen those three for that, which makes me feel like I might have to remove some of these EPROMs or so, like have them red and maybe try some different ones. Not really sure here, but yeah, this is not changing anything. But at least we're here. At least it's showing an image. It's better than nothing. So other RAM is showing okay, which is good. So what we're gonna do is just put it aside, and once we get some parts in, we'll go ahead and make another part for this video, which will actually take probably a second in just jump editing. So I decided to take apart this test switch here as I wasn't getting any reading from it, and lo and behold, you can see that the plate on there is not making any good contact at all. It's very corroded, so I need to go ahead and try and clean that up a little bit and put this thing back together, see if I can get some continuity in between there, but that's not doing anything. With a little bit of scrubbing here, I was able to scrub up this disc and clean the center point, and hopefully that'll give us a better contact. So I'll be able to put that disc back in, and I'll have to reaffix this top part maybe with some glue to try and keep it down, but let's give that a shot. We are about a month later, and I've been waiting on this EPROM for this whole time, and nothing has shown up until now. I just got the new set in, and I'm going to try and see about taking one of these and popping it in there and checking some of that. So next thing we're going to do is just pop out this old one, put in a new one, and see what happens. If you guys remember, this is what it's still doing. It's just coming up with the ABA, and 70 is still bad. That's the one that we're going to try and pop out here, so let's give it a shot. Maybe actually we can just do it right like this and just see what happens. Just kind of lightly take this one out. Since it's in there, it's a very kind of easy to take out socketed one here, and this one's brand new, so legs, we're going to have to bend this just a little bit so it'll fit in. Should be good. Okay, there we go. We've got our new one in there, and we're gonna have to hold down the reset and hit the power on this. Actually, this test might work here. Maybe let's try, see how this works. See if we can do this way. Test switch and power, and hope for the best. Well, checking, wait 10 seconds. It's upside down, but EPROM's okay. Initialization complete. Come on, please work. JA, okay. Come on. Yes! Yes! It's alive! Oh my gosh, it's got sound too! But it's missing. It's got some graphic glitches. But at least it's starting, guys. Wow, that's cool. Oh no. It was working. So we're getting there, but it's got some issues going on here. Yeah, and it seems to be resetting itself. So okay, well, we're kind of getting there. I'm pretty happy that at least it's starting to boot up here, but yeah, I'm guessing that the graphics ROMs or even the processors over here, we're going to have to go back over those and maybe try and, yeah, clean them up a little bit. Maybe the RAM over here is bad as well. So quite some time later, here we are with where I'm at with this project right now. As you can see, I've kind of put these new EPROMs in here. I've done a lot of stuff off camera just because there was one problem that kind of occurred right after another. I replaced these two RAMs. I resocketed these. I'll put new sockets in these. I put in two new RAMs here. I socketed these chips here. I had to run two more wires over here. I changed out the RAM on this side. I removed these two surface mounted quad flat packs and then put them back down. I had to replace this Konami, what is it, 053251. chip, as the background graphics or the character graphics were missing, so I replaced that. I tried to remove this EEPROM here, but because the legs were broken off the bottom, this didn't come out so well. So yeah, the board still has a bow to it, and there is something kind of funky going on here. I don't know if it's the crystal or if it's another part on this board. Maybe it's a broken trace inside the board from where it was cracked. I can't physically find it, so where I'm at with it is it will turn on and it will work. I'll show you guys how well it's doing right now, but it does have a couple of issues or glitches going on. That's normal at the beginning. But as you can see, logo comes up now, and we've got our missing graphics here. It does have sound. And today, now it's going to want to work pretty good. Sometimes there's graphic glitches in between here, so let's see if we can turn this up. Maybe I can't find the volume. There we go. But the introduction video, for the most part, plays quite well. There was only one glitch in the game that I found when I was playing it, or two glitches actually. One was at the beginning there. There was sometimes some text glitches, but it's super random. Like sometimes it comes on, sometimes it doesn't, which makes me believe maybe it's a EEPROM or EEPROM related. Not sure, but... And then the other one is in the game. At one point, there's just like one character that jumps up. But as you guys can see here, this board has been resurrected. There you go. But literally brought back from the dead here. So, as you can see, there's our coin in. We'll see if we can start this up here. We can choose our characters here. Since this is a 4-player board, I can only choose player 1 or player 2. For right now, I don't have the harness hooked up for the other one.
Mission 1.
But it is alive here. We'll just kind of skip through some of this. These graphics are working perfectly fine. But another board here, saved from the grave. Let's see if we can turn on our auto fire. Make this a little easier here. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to try and get this thing back up and running again. And although sometimes it does glitch out a little bit at the beginning, for the most part, it is playable, and it does sound pretty good. But yeah, if you guys have stuck on here until the end for this adventure, then fantastic. Just wanted to share with you guys a pretty long look here at good old G.I. Joe Konami board that was resurrected here and brought back from the dead, saved from the grave, and now hopefully can be enjoyed for just a little bit longer. But nevertheless, that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. Small little tag on here at the end. I wound up finding those two graphic glitches that wound up randomly popping up. Actually, ROM 13E and 16E were both coming up as bad. They were taking turns. Like, one time you would turn it on, it would come up as 16E bad, and you turn it on again and it'd say 13E bad, but 16E good. Anyway, these are the two that I removed from it, and I replaced these two here. This is how it's working right now. Just decided to do a little bit of a test run here. It really doesn't make too much of a difference, aside from the fact that I noticed when I was playing before, those graphic glitches that I said popped up about twice in the game, especially at the beginning and whatnot, they don't pop up anymore. And let's see here, if we just go through this, we'll go through our mask ROM check, and everything should pop up. Okay, that's normal. Just checking here. Okay, there we go. So everything else is working perfectly fine, but I figured I'd tag that on at the end of the video here. There's been so many different parts I replaced on this board just to get it to where it's going, you know, where it is right now, but it should be fully functional and no more trouble here.